the NFL stands for not for long.
Yep. Second down and goal from just inside the 2. Backs offset. Sharga and Armstead. Rollout. Walker still running out. Looks to the left. Wide open. Thompson touchdown. Colin Thompson with the touchdown. There was nobody within 20 yards of him.
What a catch off the bobble. Colin Thompson scoops it up.
Lofting corner the end zone. It is caught for the touchdown. The first NFL touch for Colin Thompson is a score.
Many words I left to say, so they get left behind. I can't let you go. I won't let you know. I'm drowning in your wine.
Welcome on back to another episode 3 of Not For Long Media. Micah Pueschel, lead singer of Iration. But before we get into him, wealth advisory services, personalized approach to managing your wealth. I've talked about them already, guys. You've listened to episode 1 of 2 of this binge listen opportunity that's all going out March 8th. Again, appreciate everyone's support so far. But wealth advisory services, Paul Krummenacker, David Jenkins, they really can assist at every level. And that's what I talked about before. They really, truly help the new investor and myself to people that are really focused on retirement. If you don't know them, you should. wealthadvisoryservices.com. Again, if you don't know them, you should. I have worked with them for years now. My parents have been with them for decades. Paul's worked with people in the NFL as well. So someone that I trust, has a strong name in Doylestown, Bucks County, where I grew up, and Wealth Advisory Services, they do a fantastic job. And then the Fudge Kitchen, we all know about the Fudge Kitchen, Irish potatoes, fudge, saltwater taffy, 50 years of business. They're shipping it across the country. fudgekitchens.com. That's fudgekitchens.com. There's some birthdays coming up. There's some holidays coming up. A tremendous opportunity to take care of your friend and send some of that creamy fudge. That's just delicious. I had some last night. The people at Fudge Kitchen have been kind enough to send us a box. No more boxes, please. I'm trying to get ready to go, but you know what? You can send me another dozen because I'll rather work it off and ride the bike a little more just to earn some more fudge. So fudgekitchens.com, wealthadvisoryservices.com. Check out Paul Krummenacker, David Jenkins, both great guys, and lucky to do business with both of these awesome companies. So Micah Pueschel, as I said, the lead singer of Iration, it's a 5-piece reggae band that's been all about the love. That's their term. They're all from Hawaii. He's a father. He's just a great guy, the leader of the band. They've been touring nationally, the band Iration, since 2008. #1 album on reggae charts and automatic. They just really have a great vibe to them. I love them. It's my favorite type of music. I listen to it before games, before, whether we're out in the summer having drinks somewhere, or we're on the beach, or we're driving, or whatever. They just have a sound for every environment. Yeah, sure, there's like the reggae vibe, but there's also, it's an alternative rock vibe, and it's great for everything. I love them. 7 total albums, tons of hit singles. I have a bunch of songs that I love. Every album I love. And their latest album is Coastin'. Check it out. It's so good. And really, guys, they're the music of this podcast. So anytime you're going to hear music, it's Iration, which is really cool for me because obviously this is the band I've loved. And now this profession and getting into podcasting has allowed me to interview some awesome people. And I really, truly think you're going to love this interview. You're going to learn about what it's like being a musician during COVID. You know, he said how music is an afterthought, right? They're not worried about concerts. They're worried about hospitals. It's a really unique interview. We talk about traveling. We talk about Hawaii. We talk about playing golf. I think the Philly people are going to like what his answer is, where his favorite place to play golf is on the road. So a lot of really cool things. And again, this is someone that I've looked up to and listened to through a lot of moments in my life to get through things, to have fun during things. So it's a really unique opportunity for me. So let's send it over to Micah Pueschel.
Lights go up another day, and I'll be feeling fine. Too many words I left to say, so they get left behind. I can't let you go, I won't let you know. I'm drowning in your wine. Another night is down, yeah, make you right. That's what. So what's up, man? What's going on? What's going on in your world right now?
Oh, my world is it's definitely a little bit turbulent in these times, you know, with music and live music and concerts being kind of on the back burner for just about everybody. That's been, interesting time for us. So a lot of music coming, as you can see in the background. My house has now become the music factory. And I have a about to be 10-month-old daughter named Hannah. And so that's been, she's a full-blown COVID, born in COVID, has only been alive during this pandemic. So that's been it's been great because I've been home the whole time. There has been no tour. So I've been here with her the entire time, and been able to kind of see her whole growth and development and be a part of it has been really awesome. Normally I see a lot of my friends that are musicians and they kind of miss that whole piece of a lot of their kids. And I'm sure it's probably similar in the NFL, where if your kid is born during the season, you're just gone a lot and there's so much responsibility and you're traveling and all that stuff. So yeah, that's been my life. Just trying to figure out, how to write over Zoom and how to stay creative and stay in a different mode when you're sleep deprived and you're dealing with a baby. So that's been my life.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Santa Barbara, California. So I've been here for about 16 years, almost 17 years now. So been a long time. Yeah.
And that's where you got your start, right? In college?
Yeah. So I actually graduated from college and then moved up here. And then, so I've been here for a long time. The other guys were all in college, and I moved up after school and just got right into the band. And we just kind of started. I had like a day job, and I was doing phone sales and all kinds. I worked at a call center for a few years actually. And when the band was starting, and then kind of obviously as the band started to roll and snowball a little bit, got to leave that job.
And that's normal in the industry, correct? Working multiple jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy. So during the time that I was working there, we had pretty much every member of my band, almost every member of Rebelution, and then a bunch of guys from the band, the Ataris, were all working there. So it was like a musicians. The way that it worked out at the place where we worked, it was like you could kind of make your own schedule and you come and go. It's like open 24 hours a day, call center. So it was like conducive to musicians working there. If you had to take a day or you had to have a show or whatever, you could kind of bounce and come back. So it was pretty cool.
I think let me backtrack. I've been a fan of you guys for a very long time now. So friends of mine in high school, college. We're at Sunfest in West Palm Beach.
Yep.
Yep. We're at Sunfest, and we leave the first day. We did 3 days down there. Now, side note, this is when mom and dad's credit card hit zero, or debit card. I was given the allotment. Like, this was zero. This is when I was transferred from Temple to Florida, 0.9 GPA. Like, that's definitely the low point in my life. But my last time burning it out, I was like, all right, man, we're going to Sunfest. Like, so I emptied the cards, like, or the one card they gave, which I'm blessed to even have. Mm-hmm. Emptied my Florida card, which was like the per diem we got over the years, and like blew through that. So that was like crazy amount of money for rent. It was just ridiculous. And we're in the car, and I was it was definitely before this. Definitely listened to you guys before this, but I don't know. I just remember when hearing Time Bomb for the first time, or like hearing it and really like sitting and listening. And we were in the car driving back, and we had a DD, and I was like, had a good one going, right? I'm like, yeah. What is this? Who is this? And I've always was in this Sublime, and we went to see Sublime with Rome.
Yeah.
And other than you guys, because we had that just intimate atmosphere, that was the best concert I've ever been to up to that date. Like, it was incredible. I was this guy Rome's out of control, and Sublime, obviously Sublime, an all-time great. So I'll never forget that. And, having meet you, and we'll get into that too, but you touched on Rebelution. I think that's a cool story, how you guys are kind of brought up together in the business industry and you guys meshed. Can you talk about that? Two powerhouses in your guys' industry.
Yeah, I think we all ended up in Isla Vista and UC Santa Barbara at the same time. And I knew Marley, the bass player from Rebelution, particularly when we were 18. He was friends with one of my buddies that moved up. So when I was a freshman, I came up to party and just hang out for the weekend in Santa Barbara and Isla Vista, which, if you're not familiar with Isla Vista is basically an island that is on the ocean, and it's where all the students live. It's an entire town that's basically run by kids. So nothing but students from the City College and UC Santa Barbara all living there. And
How was that party?
It's crazy. I mean, back then it was crazier. There was like no rules. Now they've kind of started to understand how to, corral it a little bit, but it was like no rules, full no holds barred back then. Every house had a party. There was couches on fire every night, like shoes on the telephone wires, underwear everywhere, that kind of deal. So it was like a full-blown free for all. And when you're 18 and you come from the big island of Hawaii and you're like, holy shit, like this is another level of like stuff I've never seen. So I went up and visited, met Marley actually randomly, and he had another band called Funk Unit. And we were like watching them play, and it was like, okay, they're playing Sublime covers and stuff like that. And the boys, my friends, had started playing music, and they were playing like roots reggae. And I came up after I graduated, and we just kind of started, and Rebelution and Iration were like the two Isla Vista bands. We kind of came first, and we had this big following in Isla Vista. All the students, we'd put shows on in backyards and little in zones in the garages and stuff like that. And it was like they'd turn into these huge raging parties. And so we kind of cut our teeth doing that before we had paid gigs and stuff. It was just we built stages. We bought a PA. We spent all of we would play shows for like at the Santa Barbara, the Isla Vista Co-op store. We'd play a show outside their co-op, and they'd give us each a box, and we could go into the store and just take whatever we want. And then that was our payment for the show. It was like grocery shopping for like.
You're just like walking out. There's like bananas flying everywhere.
It was like strategy, like how you could fit things into the box, because you only could take one box.
Bro, the ramen noodles, man, they fit perfect in this corner.
Oh yeah, we were going way harder than we were like taking the most expensive shit we could find out of the store.
I believe, that's Bush League on me.
Yeah. So at the same time, Rebelution kind of started up after we had been going for a couple years, maybe like a year or two, and we just had this. It was kind of like a friendly rivalry where they would play on like a Friday and we'd play on a Saturday, or vice versa, and we'd share each other's equipment. We'd share they had two PA speakers, and we had a full PA system, so they would borrow our speakers, and then we borrow their speakers. They'd borrow our stages that we built, and so it would be like Friday and Saturday nights would just be these reggae concerts, and it was pretty crazy. And then obviously we started recording at the same time, and we both kind of took off. They took off like a little bit before us, just because I think their first release, Eric was a better songwriter earlier. I think he had taken songwriting at the City College, and he was just had a better understanding of how to write. And we were just kind of flying by night, where none of us were very trained musicians or classical musicians. And so they just kind of took off first and went, and then we kind of came right after them, trying to always been like maybe like a one or two, like an album behind them, just as far as their progression has gone. And so
they had some big hits come out early, right?
They had Safe and Sound and Attention Span, and their first album they just had, it's really good. They had like Ordinary Girl and Feeling All Right and all these songs that are still to this day like their biggest songs, and so we were still kind of figuring out what our sound was, what we were doing, and just figuring out how to play music for the most part. And so it was crazy, and we've been able to tour with them, do 3 national tours together. We've been able to do collaborations. We've had Eric on. I've been on one of their songs, and he was on our last album on a song called Right Here, Right Now. And so it's been really cool. And now we're all older. We're all, grown up a little bit, and we have families. I have a kid. Eric just had a baby as well, so we're kind of going through that. He lives in Santa Barbara. He moved back to Santa Barbara after moving away for a while, so it's kind of all coming full circle a little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You talked about family. You talked about being around your daughter. You mentioned, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be tired. Because if I was on the road, I'd be doing X, Y, and Z. I wouldn't be here. Talk about the struggle as a musician of being on the road away from family, and maybe, some things you've seen over the years, because it's probably torn some bands and some people apart.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, as anybody knows that travels for a living, it's taxing, just being away, being in an unfamiliar place every single night in a different city every day. It's awesome. Like there's definitely cool things about it, just the experience of travel, the experience of seeing different cultures, different, ways of living, different food, different drink, different, just vibes, in different places around the country. I've been to every state in the US. So, there's not a lot of people that can say that. So it is amazing, but yeah, the downside is just the separation. When we go out, in the early days, you go out for 7-8 weeks, and that's like your standard tour length. And still a lot of bands tour 7-8 weeks at a time. And, if you're a giant band, you're going out for a year at a time, and you're going all around the world, and you go from one tour to the next, and you just never, it's really taxing. It can really like grind on you eventually. It's like, imagine if your football season didn't end for an entire year, it just
crazy.
It's hard. You know what I mean?
It's getting closer to that. Poosh, getting closer to that.
I know. They're trying to extend your season.
17 games. I think really the end goal is like for Super Bowl Sunday to be President's Week day the next day, so people are off the next day. I think that's the
I don't understand that, because like it doesn't seem like any players are behind that. Like zero of the players in the league are like, we want to play more games. Like,
yeah, well, pay more, right? So that's the whole thing, and
right. So
there's more opportunity, but you got to build the rosters bigger. There's so many different things. Like
they have to build. Yeah, so they have to make rosters bigger. They have to probably take away some practice days and stuff like that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, the games are the fun part. It's like the grind in between, which is fine. It's what you have to do. It's such a strategic sport. I don't want to say it's like basketball. Basketball obviously is a lot of strategy, but it's way different in the sense that like an offense, it takes all 11 guys to move the ball like a yard. It really does. It's crazy.
And I the same with music. I mean, the show is the fun part, and everything else about it is like kind of not the funnest. Like if you're
after the show's kind of fun though. We had some fun. Yeah,
after the show's fun, and that you're still kind of riding the high of being on stage, and I'm sure like after the game is fun. You know what I mean? Especially if you win. I mean, there is no. I mean, in general in music, there isn't really no win or lose, but you have good shows and you have bad shows.
No doubt. Well,
somewhat equivalent.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's so many, and it's funny. Every athlete wants to be a musician. Every musician wants to be an athlete, and I have no musical talent. Sadly, I wish I just dedicated myself a little more. I took one guitar lesson from a guy who played in our area, and he would like play steel guitar for Bon Jovi, and he was like a friend of my dad. And he's like, let's learn. And I like the first day, I was like trying to learn whatever. We were picking a guitar or whatever we're doing. I was like, this sucks. I can't do this. Like, give me a ball. Like, let's go, man. I gotta like, and I wish someone was like, no, you have to take 10 lessons, But
I was the same way growing up though. I played sports. Growing up, and I played in college, and I was more of an athlete always, but I did do music on the side. In Hawaii, music is just a part of the culture. So it's like when you're outside, you're in between your classes or whatever in high school, you're jamming on the ukulele, or you're playing music and you're singing, and it's like it's just part of the culture. It's normal. So, that was for me, it was always pretty easy to kind of balance it. But no, I was always an athlete too. And I always wish, like, my mom tried to get me to play piano and do piano lessons when I was a young kid. And I just wanted to go outside and play with my friends. And every time I had a piano lesson, I hated it. And I was like, I just want to go back out. And I'd be in the middle of playing with my buddies outside, and they'd be like, okay, it's time for your piano lesson. And I'd be like, no. And she also bought me a guitar for my 7th birthday. My mom's the musical one, so she really was trying to push it on me. And I just never took it up until I got a little bit older and got into singing and doing music more towards high school. And then when I went to college, I really started to get into it and started playing guitar and stuff like that. But no, I get it. And but I think the understanding, being an athlete and being a part of teams my whole life. I played soccer, I played football, I played rugby and football in college. And so I played every sport growing up. So I was like I'm a huge sports fan. I love sports. It's probably my passion outside of music. And I understand understand how to be on a team is a big part of being in a band too, and being in a successful band, because a lot of bands fizz out just because you have egos and there's not a balance. And understanding how to have a team where, if you can also be a leader, but not you can have your egos, but they can work together and not let one overpower the other. That's a huge part of having success for a longer period of time.
Sounds like Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he knows, but it's like he leads by example, right? And I think that's like the biggest thing. Is like the best guys have an ego, but they also grind, and they're the hardest workers, and they perform when it's time.
You talked about Hawaii a little bit. Touch on growing up in Hawaii. And what was that like for us people that have no idea what that's even like? I would love to, but touch on that a little bit.
Hawaii is awesome. I mean, it's not really a better place to grow up. You can do anything there. I think that's what is so amazing about growing up in Hawaii is that you have the ocean. So you have nature, you have, the athletics, you have music, you have food. It's a culture that is about it's mostly about things that are really joyful and things that are fun. You know what I mean? And I think the Hawaiian culture in general is a one that involved fun, and, they invented surfing, and they invented all these amazing like little games and things that they had that were part of the culture. And it's also a warrior culture. So there's that part of it, and that's why you see so many, these great MMA and UFC fighters coming out, Max Holloway and BJ Penn and all these guys coming out of Hawaii, this small place, and they end up being these big time fighters. It's part of the culture, and same with football and same with music. And I think that's just one of the best things about Hawaii is I always felt like it was so open to do whatever I wanted to. One day you could go surfing, you could go spearfishing or fishing, and then the next day you could be playing music, or you could go to a luau, and then you could go have a football game the next day or whatever, or a soccer game, or you could go watch a game, or or play golf, and there's all these there's so many things that you can do, and you could even go up on the mountain and get into the snow and snowboard or ski. And so it's just an incredible place. The community is amazing. The people are amazing. And I always will be connected to it, having been born and raised there. So
how many times have you played there?
Oh, we probably played as a band, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 times, maybe 10 times. Not that many, to be honest. Like there was a stretch for a few years where we just couldn't get a show to, because it's hard to just go and play one show, and it's harder to get shows done on the outer islands. So on Oahu, it's easy to do, but it's harder to get shows on Maui and the Big Island and some of the other, and Kauai and stuff like that. So
was there a special moment in a show there where you're back home and you're like, wow, I'm back home playing with my band and we're touring across the country? Is there any bit of that while you were there?
Yeah, I think, it's always pretty awesome going back and being able to play. We went back a couple years ago and played in Hilo with the band The Green, who are from Hawaii, and we did a show in Hilo, which is like a small town and on the Big Island where we're from, and we played outside in this parking lot, and it was like kind of a throwback show for us, but it was fun. We had so many of our friends that hadn't seen us play in years, finally kind of get to see us play and do what we do, and it was just really cool to kind of put that all back together and see so many people and see that they, had been following our career and be able to play for them, because, if you don't get to play on the Big Island very much, and we play so many shows, and we do, we get to play big shows over here in the mainland and all over the country. And it's always good to go home and be able to kind of reconnect and show like, hey, this is what we're doing now. It's not, we've done something. We've gotten better since, you saw us in like 2008 or 9 or whatever it was.
Wow, Micah's grown up so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've toured across the country like 50 times at this point.
Yeah.
You mentioned golf. I know you're a big golf fan. Great.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys have already heard Poosh's Twitter and all, and then that will all come across in the beginning. Great follow on Twitter. Great golf follow. And in general, obviously with music as well. Talk about, well, first we'll start on the Hawaii. Is there some great places for people to play when they go over there? Or maybe ones that aren't as highly touted, or some things that are on your mind when it comes to golf in Hawaii?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's tons of places in Hawaii to play. On the Big Island, I'd say the less known places are like the Volcano golf. There's a course out by the Volcano, which is pretty crazy and cool. There's all kinds of native birds and wildlife out there, and then there's Hapuna, which is a lesser known course on the coast where it kind of plays near the ocean. And also, let's see, Big Island Country Club, which is I think it has a different name now. Makani, I think is what it's called now. And that's also really cool. And that's a Pete Dye design who did like TPC and TPC Sawgrass and some of and PGA West, you see on the tour. So it's the same. There's a lot of really cool courses in Hawaii, and I'm sure it's hard to go wrong. Really, there's not really many bad courses there. But yeah, so I love playing over in Hawaii. It's always good fun.
You've toured across the country. We've talked about it a few different times now. There has to be a place where you're like, yes, that city, X city's back on the list because we get to play golf and we have a day off the next day. What is what are some of the courses that are near and dear to your heart across the U.S.?
It's funny. I was just playing golf the other day at this local club where I play out of. There's a Monday skins game, and I was playing with these guys, and they asked me the same question. And I said Philly. I was like, and one of the guys in my group was from Philly. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm from Philly." Like I like that.
A bunch of courses.
Yeah, so I was like, "Dude, Philly," because we have a buddy that is a member at Pine Valley, and Pine Valley is like the #1 rated course in the world. So whenever we're there, we know months in advance. So I schedule it with him, and I'm like, "Yo, we're gonna be in Philly, and we have a day off, or we're gonna be here on this day." And he's like, okay. And we get to play Pine Valley. So I've gotten to play it 2 times. And I was supposed to play it again last year when we were going through Philly. And obviously COVID put the kibosh on that. But it's, Philly is sneaky good. There's so many other good courses there. And that's not even sneaky. I think it's pretty world renowned as far as the golf goes. But there's other places, obviously I love going down to like St. Augustine, Florida is really fun because we get to play TBC Sawgrass, and I played Timuquana Country Club with Lane Up guys, and there's a bunch of like really fun places down there, and also Charleston and kind of some of those East Coast places are really fun. New York obviously is great.
Have you played Pinehurst before?
Yeah. So we did a buddy's golf trip in 2019. And we went to Pinehurst and stayed there for a week and played we played Pinehurst 2. We did 36 on Pinehurst 2. We did Pinehurst 2, 3, 4, 8, Mid Pines, Pine Needles, and Tobacco Road. And then obviously did the like par 3 course there. And it was awesome, man. We had a great time. If anybody, if you love golf, you got to get to Pinehurst at some point. It's amazing.
I hear everything around the golf is just exceptional too.
Yeah. We stayed at a place called the Dornant Cottage, which is where Donald Ross, who designed the course, #2 course, he lived there. That was his home. So we got to stay there, which is really special. And it was incredible. Like just really great hospitality. Tom Pashley, who's the president out there, is like a super cool, nice guy. Took care of us. So yeah, we're lucky. I mean, it's a joke how lucky we are, like as far as, being in music and then getting to play golf and experience these places. I just feel super like I shouldn't be there. Like half the time I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm at Pine Valley, you know what I mean? And I know people that would, give their youngest child to play there. And I'm out there like,
I'm playing #2. Take my son. Here's Bobby.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's Bobo.
Well, listen, June 25th, you're supposed to play at the Stone Pony. I get married that day in Cape May, New Jersey, not too far away. If you guys get a wild hair and you want to come play at a wedding, I get married that day, June 25th.
Congrats.
Thank you. Your next concert is on Monday, I believe. That's a Friday. Your next concert is on Monday in Baltimore. So you're going to have 2 days there.
At the Stone Pony? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Jersey. That's like just north. That's Asbury Park. It's just up there. Previous interview. He was up in Asbury Park. I had the $20 chef on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was great. He's the man. Sean's a great guy. And we just became buddies through social media, kind of like how you and I met.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was great. Great interview. Previous interview to this one. Check it out, guys. If you haven't already. And so Stone Pony on the 25th, I believe that's a Friday. That's my wedding. And then I think you play Baltimore on Monday. You're playing Baltimore on Monday, so you'll have a couple of days there to play some golf in the area for sure. We're not that far away though. Parkway, man, south. We're an hour and a half. You want to come party Saturday after the wedding? You're more than welcome to.
Oh, well, we'll see. We have to see if we're gonna. I mean, to be perfectly honest, we'll see if the tour happens.
That's what I was going into. What are your thoughts? What's going on in the music world right now with tours and etc.?
It's tough. It's
not
tough
good,
right
man.
now. I mean,
Yeah.
we were talking about, last year when we had shows in May, and they're like, you think these shows are gonna happen? And it was in May, and we're like, of last year, and they're like, oh, we're gonna push it to October, and then we're like, okay, October. We had these festival gigs that got pushed to October, and we're like, okay, that's far enough away. And then we got close to October, and we're like, yeah, now it's almost March, of 2021.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't want to make any claims, but it doesn't look great. But it's tough. And that's just being a musician. We're kind of like the last priority, I feel like, which sucks because I feel like there are ways to do it safely, and to have people. And I think it's just hard for promoters to want to put money up for shows that if you can't really gross the same amount of money. And we've done stuff like drive-in shows, and we've done these live streams and stuff. It's just not the same. There's just something missing in part of a live show is that can't be recreated through a live stream or through without. It's something about people being close together. And I know that's hard in COVID. It's like,
I understand it.
So now we're starting to understand that it's like we're not not being close. You're lucky enough to be in a when you're in the NFL, you're getting tested, so you can be around people. You know what I mean? And it's like you don't have to worry about it. Like, but we're starting to be conditioned to be like it's like uncomfortable if someone gets close to you, and you're like now it's like the whole feeling of what a concert is when you're kind of like packed in the crowd, and it's like the collective energy. We'll see how long it takes to kind of get that back, and I think people really want to see shows, and they want to go back to it. Obviously for us, we want to do it in a way that's responsible and safe, and we want to keep our fans safe, and we want to keep ourselves and our families safe. So it's like, it's a balance, and we're just waiting to see how things kind of play out. Right now, it's hard to say.
It really is. And it's funny you say that, it just wasn't the same, the drive-in. We played some games with no fans. We played some games with 5,000 fans. We played some games. Kansas City had, I think, 15,000. That was great. It felt like it was sold out. I was like, this is fantastic. Like, just a little adrenaline, like, you guys are so accustomed. You're professionals. You guys practice way more than even we do at our craft. That's the thing about football is like, you need 22 people to practice it. It's, but I'm always lifting and running and doing my stuff, but you're always performing to some extent and practicing. And like, I can only imagine just what you guys are used to and nobody being there. Football's the same way. We played our first game versus the Raiders. I was inactive, so I was in street clothes on the sideline. There's 5,000 people there. It felt like a scrimmage. It felt like a spring practice in college. Yeah, there was more people at my high school games, and I went to a small school. Like, it was like, whoa, no adrenaline. After games, I remember in college, the adrenaline was so high. The people were so packed in, like you're saying. I would be sweating my ass off, and it wasn't even hot out. Just so many people. Talk about the adrenaline rush you get from the fans. I mean, it must make a show go by so much faster, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I mean, that's why you do it. That's why we do these. It's the show is really what our band, we've banked on for our career is putting on a live show. We know we make some good songs and have some good records out there, but really our whole thing is playing live, and that's what reggae music in general and this reggae rock, this kind of style that we play, it really is about a live show, and it's about a performance and a band, and there's something to be said for that. I was talking about this and with like our management and some other people, and just saying like there's something about it when instruments come together, a band is playing, it's just a different feel, and there's something about that sound and that connection and that synergy that happens that is different than putting a track on, a DJ spinning a track, or something that's like a pop act that plays tracks. It's just, even obviously there's talent still there, and there's the songs. If the song is great, it's going to make people enjoy it. But there's something different about seeing a band play together, the instruments, the way that they're reverberating off of each other, the energy of a band coming together. There's something that's irreplaceable. So I think that's the high that we kind of go for. Is it's not only just the crowd, it's about that energy and building that energy between the band and the crowd and getting it to kind of soar, where it's like we're trying to score the winning touchdown. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to, it's overtime all the time, and we're trying to like build it to that, game ender where you just house one at the end of the game and win the game, and the crowd goes. That's how we want to end every set every night, right? Is like we want.
You guys are like a 10-play drive.
High. Yeah, exactly.
You guys are like a 10-play drive, but you're going to score at the end, but you need to build it up over time. You don't want like no Kansas City where it's like one throw, 70 yards touchdown, even though they do it both ways. But yeah,
we want a Shanahan drive is what we want.
There you go. 5 yards in a cloud of dust.
We want to pound it, and then we want to, all of a sudden we're going to pound it, and then we want to play action to Kittle, and then we want to, then maybe we hit a long one up the middle, like a 28-yarder or something like that. But it's
who's catching that for the Niners?
Ayuk now, I think, or George. Yeah, Debo.
I didn't mean to take you off your thing, but I was just curious.
I'm feeling that.
I want to get into so no, I get it. The feel that the people, you guys saw a great concert. Was lucky to see one, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you guys, you won't have to know a song, and you're gonna have fun at your concert. You're gonna have an absolute blast.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's fantastic. I want to talk on the Niners though. We're on the NFL. We'll do Niners. We'll talk a little Super Bowl. So your Niners, what are your thoughts? Lose a good coach, defensive coordinator. What's next for the Niners?
So yeah, I'm a huge Niners fan. Like I am a Niners fan, not just during the season. I'm like on Twitter off season Niners, like waiting for things to drop. I'm doing draft study. I'm watching tape on college players. I'm deep. I have a group of buddies. We have a fantasy league that we've been doing for over, I think we're in our 12th year of doing fantasy together. And it's like, I have a bunch of buddies that are like Cowboys fans, and we just go, and Packers fans, and we just like go year round. And it's, our wives hate it, like, because we're just like on our phones, like going, like arguing with each other. But the draft, like we go from, it's just like a normal, like we're so deep into it. And so for me, the Niners have been my team forever. And now it's kind of this regime with Shanahan coming in has been big. I've been able to become friends with like Joe Staley is a buddy of mine. And so Staley and I, he retired this last year, but he's been out to shows, and even guys like Daniel Kilgore that played for the Niners and played for the Chiefs this year.
Big Mike
McGlinchey, yes. They've all been out to shows. Yeah.
He's a childhood friend. Friend. Yeah.
That's awesome. I actually I've never met him. We've just interacted on Twitter, but he's met Mike, our guitar player who went to a night. He went to a game last year, and they hung out after the game with Joe, and he was in the box with Carrie Staley. So they were like got to meet. They were hanging out with Carrie, and then they saw Mike after the game. So I've never met him, but we've like corresponded on Instagram. And
my original thought was like, all right, let's have Micah, Poosh, and we'll have Poosh, and I'll have Mike on at the same time, and we'll do like a little, powwow, which we'll get to. And as the show grows, I appreciate you coming on.
Oh,
that would be great, because Mike's the man. Mike, I'm in Cape May. Mike's in Wildwood, not too far up the road. I mean, literally like 2 miles. That's where his summer place is, and family's there. And I played with all his cousins. Played against Mike in 7th grade and 8th grade. I played him against basketball. He's big as a house. I'm happy for him. He's going to get paid a ton of money.
So was he playing in high school? Did he play tackle, or was he playing?
He played a little tight end and tackle.
Tight end. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, he's always been big as a house. I mean, he's a part of the Matt Ryan family, and essentially there's, I believe, 5 or 6 sisters and 1 brother. One of the sisters married into the Ryan family. One of the sisters married into McGlinchey,
Right.
McCain, and Lockery is the family name. And John Lockery, his oldest cousin, older than Big Mike. We played together at Temple. I played with the McCain family at Wood, my high school. So it goes way, way back. And it also really, Matt Ryan obviously is the big name, but Mike will be a big name, and he already is a big name. So the Niners, man, I'm a big fan of the offense I was talking about before the show.
Mhm.
Everyone in the league refers to what Shanahan does, how he runs outside zone, his footwork. I'll say something to our tight end coach, and they'll be like, "Well, when I was with Shanahan, and in Cleveland, he ran it like this." And so he's a legend. What are your thoughts on him?
I love him. He's actually a reggae fan.
Of course he is.
I heard Joe said he's an Iration fan. He's still listening to our CDs, so I think we need to update it. I think we got to update him on
these football coaches, man.
Listen. Yeah.
They go into their den and they come out like 30 years later when they retire.
Yeah.
An iPhone? What is this?
Yeah, I know. So I think I sent him a box of gear. And he's a great guy. I think he's there you go. There we go.
I got it on. I got the shirt on. Sorry. For those
nice.
For podcast people just listening and not on the
YouTube. This is kind of Carolina dark blue, I guess.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate you wearing it. Well, we gotta do some sort of swap. I'll send you a jersey. So we'll do whatever.
Yeah, I'll send you a box too after this. No. But yeah, so I've been a Niners fan. I'm a huge Shanahan fan. I love what he's doing. I love the direction of the team. I love what his philosophy is. I love the way he handles himself in press conferences. Like I'm way in on Shanahan. I hope he stays there forever. I really do think that the team and the guys all love him too. I think that's what the main thing I've noticed is that all the guys that are behind the scenes, they all really respect him. They respect his knowledge, and the way that he interacts with the guys and the team. And I think that's a huge part of it is just respect, honesty. Like I think players in the NFL, from all the guys that I know and the guys that I've interacted with, like they all they want to, that's all they really want from their coaches is like just some respect, honesty. They don't want to feel like the GM and the coach are going behind their back and saying things and doing things and treating them like pawns and stuff like that.
Same as a band, man. Same as a band.
Exactly. Like
agents, coaches, it's all the same. Yeah.
We don't really want to be involved in the
No.
Artists don't really want to be involved in the business side of things. Like a lot, I mean, we are, but it's like that's not what we really want to be doing. Like we want to be performing, we want to be doing the other stuff. And that's the same with athletes. It's like they just want to play, like for the most part. They don't want to have to negotiate deals and have to talk about it on, in the press and all that crap. And so I feel like it's just like, I'm glad that he feels like, from what I understand, he's honest and the players respect that. And I think that's a big thing. And I like my team to be, on that side of things. Like it'd be hard to reconcile. You have a something like it's going on in Houston right now, where you got your quarterback trying to get out of town, and it's like I'm just glad that's not happening. People want to go play in San Francisco, like they want to go play for the Niners, and that's a good thing.
Much as it pains me to say, people want to go play in Tampa Bay, our rival, and they won the Super Bowl. Thoughts on the game?
I didn't think that they were gonna. I honestly didn't think they were gonna win the game. I thought Kansas City was gonna win, but then looking back on it, it made a lot of sense just because of how well Tampa Bay's defense was playing and how beat up Kansas City's line was.
Yeah,
they just couldn't handle the pressure and the speed. The speed at linebacker, I think, is underrated for Tampa Bay with White and Levante David. Those guys are, crazy fast. They cover the entire field. They can do all the different, they can rush. They can do all kinds of stuff. And I think Todd Bowles is a really legitimate coach. And, I think people underestimate the staff changeover last year from, going Arians and Bowles from the previous staff and going to, I think, just a really good, solid scheme, having a lot of talent, drafting well, improving the secondary, all that stuff. And obviously Brady makes a huge difference. Like he's just brings that confidence and that like vibe of people are going to follow me. And they believe, they know I have 6 rings. Like Like, trust me, I know when we can win a Super Bowl, and people are gonna, that makes a difference. I feel like he's getting over that hump. When the teams are that close to each other and the games are so close and the talent levels are so close, it's like those little bits of confidence and when the games get squeaky that matter. And I think that's what really he brings most right now.
No doubt about it.
Solid play.
He's a culture driver, man. He really is. It's you could see it. You see the parade, like the way they're celebrating. Like he just gets it. He's much it pains me to say we lost to them twice this year, but they just have a great roster. They're well coached. It's funny, we were talking Temple before. Bruce Arians was the head coach at Temple. Todd Bowles played for him at Temple.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a ton. I think there's like 8 or 9 coaches on their staff. And then obviously in Carolina, we have 8 or 9. So the division has like 35 coaches that played or coached at Temple.
That's crazy.
Player. Really crazy, a small little school in Philly.
You always think of Temple as a basketball school,
Yeah, RIP, John Chaney. This is our 3rd podcast of the new version of the Not For Long podcast, Not For Long Media. And Coach Chaney will be the first one. So I did a little 3-part interview. Awesome. 3-4-part interview. So the halftime show, though, that's a big conversation. You were chiming in on Twitter. Obviously, you are the elite version. Like, that's what I want to do on Twitter about football, and people have no idea what they're talking about. But I can't. But it's a little bit different in your industry. You're an established, successful artist with a great band, and just a little bit different brand than what I would be coming off of as a 3rd tight end for the Panthers.
Right. I mean, he's not the Weeknd's not checking in on my Twitter, so I'm not too worried about it. But it's like, I just expected more, and I know it was a COVID performance. And to me, like, if I was a big Weeknd fan, which I like some of his songs, I wouldn't consider myself like a massive Weeknd fan. I like the songs. I'm not really a fan of very many, like a fan of very many like new artists, but
okay, never mind.
I'm always listening to songs. That's what my business is songwriting, and I'm listening, and he has great songs. And I was expecting, when you say the Weeknd, like, okay, first of all, he seems like, okay, I know from what I've seen of his performances before, he's got the voice, but does he have like a secondary skill that he can do that really lifts the performance to the next level? You think about the great performances, Super Bowl performances, Prince, Bruno Mars, Tom Petty, like these ones that really stood out to people, Beyonce, stuff like that, where it's like they can dance, they can dance, they can play, they can sing, they can do all these things, and it's like a full-blown performance. And I just didn't see that with him. And so when the performance came, I was like, well, the other thing that you can do is you can do the Maroon 5 Coldplay thing, where you just bring out other big acts to kind of supplement your performance and give it that, oh, there they are, that's cool, they brought this person out of this person. So I was like totally expecting that to happen, and he didn't. So I was like, okay, I don't know. It's just him playing the song with this like crazy production, playing the songs with the production, but there really wasn't that thing. And I was like, well, you know what? This would be great if you're just a Weeknd fan and you went and saw him in concert, and this is the concert you saw. It'd be amazing, right? But for the Super Bowl, you just expect a slightly bigger spectacle, expect a little bit more, and that was my feeling on it. It just felt like him doing the songs with like a big production behind it. It didn't feel like anything special. A lot of the people in the industry wrote me behind it and were like, totally agree. Like a lot of, even like my publicists and people that are like in the business were like, totally agree. Like some of them, I don't want to say it like on Twitter, but they're like, yeah, no, I totally agree with
that. Yeah, they just slide into your DMs and say, oh yeah, Poosh is following me, I can send him a DM here. Okay.
I get some people like that. If you're a Weeknd fan, you're probably going to be more tinged to liking it just because you like the music and you like the songs and you want him to be successful. But it's, for me, looking at it from an unbiased place, like I want to see like a great show, and I'm looking at it from like the overall performance, what the product is, and that was my feeling.
So I listen to a lot of Colin Cowherd, especially in college, not much anymore. I did the last couple of years, and I whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he's really, really good at his job professionally, organizationally. He's got great comparisons, and he always talks about like, there's only so many good acts. And he said that about music. It's like Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Maroon 5, or whatever. Like, there's only so many elite. Same with quarterback.
Yeah.
And he always he always makes the comparisons. That's his thing. And I love it. I think it's fun, and it draws my mind, and I leave a show, it's thought-provoking radio. That's what he always says. So is that true? Is there only, 5 or 6, or could a band step in that's not as popular and do as well? Is it about the popularity, or is it about maybe just, hey, they just do a great show?
The Super Bowl, it's like, it really is. The Super Bowl is really about a giant marketing hit for your brand, like whatever the act is, right? That's what it really is about. So, and obviously it's this cross pollination with the NFL. So it's like getting this person that's uber popular to their fans to also want to watch the Super Bowl just to see their performance, right? And like, it also adds this like thing to the middle of where normally people are going to go off and do other things during halftime, and makes them stick around, and they want to watch the halftime performance. It's become this thing, right? And so I think, there's only so many acts that could do it, right? There's only so many acts that have the songs, that have the vibe, the performance, that could really do it. And yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a lot more than a handful of elite performers and artists out there, but elite performers and artists that are also super, super famous and popular, there's not that many of those, right? So,
and willing to do it, right? I mean,
right.
If you had to pick
I think everyone in the music industry would do it if you asked them to do it. You know what I mean? Just because that's a career maker. That's, as far as money goes, like the amount of money that you're going to make from that is incredible. It's like,
what does that pay like?
It's like the Mahomes deal. It's crazy big. It's like, yeah, it's like you're signing a free agency franchise quarterback deal. Essentially, you're cementing yourself as far as, financials go for a long time. And it's just the, you're tying yourself into Pepsi, you're tying yourself into to all these different massive marketing things and schemes, and your songs play on commercials during the Super Bowl. And so it's a crazy financial thing, really. But
deal.
I mean, I saw next year, the Super Bowl is in LA at SoFi. And so
Iration, bring him on.
We'll open, Yeah. I heard that I saw people saying that the Chili Peppers, and I thought that would be a really cool LA band. You know what I mean? They have the hits, they have the vibe. I think that made sense to me. You know what I mean? Like that, I could see that being, because they have the songs, they have the virtuosic musical thing going on. They'd probably bring some artists on that they know that would be big and be cool. And so I think that would be cool, but we'll see.
Who are you a fan of outside of it? Like, if you had to put, Chili's a great one. A lot of our listeners love that, right? Because everyone likes a Chili song, at least one.
Yeah.
Is there a band that you're like, that's a no-brainer? These 3 bands should be, or 3, acts should be in the Super Bowl. Is there a perfect one?
I would say it's hard for me right now to think. I mean,
story of my life.
At this point, yeah, it's like, who's the one I think would be like a correct artist for it would be like a Post Malone or a Drake, and it's just because of the size of the art, how big they are as an artist, right, and the reach that they have, and what they could do as far as, Drake doesn't necessarily have that, like, I'm gonna dance and impress the crowd or like play an instrument or whatever, but he could probably get anybody to come on stage with him in the world, and then that immediately becomes cool. Like, oh, I got Jay-Z to come out, or I got, such and such, or this person or this artist or this pop act to kind of come out, or Bieber or whatever, you know what I mean? And that would be like, so to me, it's like it has to be like a Taylor Swift or something like that. You know what I mean? It has to be just a giant artist, or a Post Malone, where you can do the same thing and bring out a lot of different artists, and he can play guitar. So there's one of those. But yeah, I mean,
no reggae rock. And I was going to ask you, like, what is your genre? Because I've heard like dub, I've heard this, I've heard that, and first off, like, there's so many artists that fall into that now. There should be more radio stations. I'm sure there are out west, but on the East Coast, like, we have alternative rock stations and they're really good. But why are there no radio stations for you guys? Even satellite, it's like reggae and it's so roots. It's sometimes I can't even listen to it. And I do like roots, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the alternative rock reggae vibe that you guys have, first off, what is the genre? And then two, why aren't there so many radio shows? Why aren't there any?
Well, yeah, I'd say reggae. We always have called ourselves, at least us, reggae rock, because we do kind of toe the line between alternative rock and reggae.
Yeah,
and we do play on alternative rock stations, and so we're one of the few bands outside of like Pepper and Dirty Heads and Some Slightly Stupid and 311 that have been able to make it onto alternative radio and kind of have success on radio. And I think it's just because their radio is just such a antiquated thing, you know, outside of satellite radio. It's like they really are just playing towards these kind of antiquated genres, you know. It's like alternative, you know, it's that pop, the top 40 essentially. There's adult contemporary, and then there's, you know, what they used to call
nuts, man. I hate it because it's like you guys' genre is so untapped, and every time I play it or play, you know, just make a playlist of all you guys, and we play it at a party, or we play it whatever, and it just fits into a lot of different molds. Yeah, sure, everyone says summer drinking a beer. I get that. But not everything is summer nights, you know, like there's so much more to what you guys do. Even some of the slightly stuff's great. And, you know, it just got great vibes for anything you want to do. And it blows my mind how it's just even like serious. I know they, you know, you're saying, hey man, it falls into these different things, but some of this like yacht rock radio, are you kidding me? Like, which is cool. And it's got a funky vibe to it, but like, come on, man. Reggae rock radio, it needs to happen.
They do. I agree, and I think they're trying to do it. So they have on, I think it's on The Joint. They started to do Cali Roots Radio on Sunday nights. It's only like 2 hours, and Eric from Rebelution is one of the guys that does it and does a list. And then so they kind of are starting to do that. But
he gives you some more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's played Fly With Me and a couple others, and it's just. It's just one of those things where they really want it to fit. They want it to fit. Like when we present songs to radio, they go, "Oh no, we already have another reggae rock song, so we don't want to run two at the same time." And we're like, "Okay, like why?" You know what I mean? If it's a good enough song, and that's just how it works. And it stinks because it's like if the Dirty Heads and if we're like say we're releasing a song and Sublime with Rome is releasing the song at the same time. They're gonna take the Sublime with Rome song because they have history, right? Sublime and Sublime with Rome has all this history and they had hits, and then they'll be like, okay, sorry, like we already have them. You guys need to like either come back later or, you know.
It just blows my mind. There's not one solo like, hey, welcome to 98, the rock reggae station, like whatever. I just don't. I understand it business wise, but I don't. Like if you want to make money and be different, everybody's the same thing. People are dying for more. That's why radio is dying, and podcasts and Spotify and all these other places are through the roof because I can listen to Iration Radio, excuse me, and get like 3 songs of you guys and then like 2 songs of Slightly and then a Rebelution. Like it's crazy.
Well, that's why Pandora too, you know, these things are still so huge, and it's so many people are moving over to those kind of things where you can tailor your listening experience way more. But there's something to be said for hearing new stuff, and the great thing about radio is like you don't know what's going to be next, you know, and it's and I think that's part of it. And you know, I think that this scene is much bigger than we probably get credit for in the greater scheme of music. Yeah, it is. And if you look at, they have these power charts that come out now, where this independent company keeps tabs of how many streams and how many you know, how the overall like listenership and hits that are getting from each, and it goes by genre. Like the reggae rock genre is bigger than like so many of the other ones, and
not surprised.
Like bigger than indie rock, bigger than so many alternative acts. Like on average, if you look at the top 10 of our genre, when it goes Stick Figure, Rebelution, Dirty Heads, Slightly Stupid, Iration, Pepper, etc., we're getting millions and millions and millions of like spins and views and streams. And then you look at like the top 10 of like indie, and it's like there's a couple at the top that are big, and then it starts to really fall off. And so, but those acts get way more radio, they get way more critical, you know, love, and we can't even get an album reviewed by you know, any sort of music magazine or publication, they don't even like pay attention. So it's just a weird thing. And it's like, you'd think that there would, because of the listenership is so big, we have like 5-6 bands in our genre that do giant, amphitheater tours every summer, which is, those are some of the biggest tours that are going on during the summer. And
it's the number one act.
Yeah, we get these.
Unless you're like a big old time, like if RIP, like if Tom Petty comes to town or like,
right.
Then yeah, sure, I get it. That's just Bruce, like I get it. But no, the summer, everyone wants to go see Slightly in Iration. Like it's on an irrelevant thing. It's not like we're saying, oh, like whatever. This isn't like 25 years ago. Like I'm just like, it's just so relevant to me. Like I'm not the only one who listens to it at this point.
Yeah.
And before people did, and I still felt like I was pounding the table, which is fine. I'll always, pound the table for you guys, and I send everybody everything on Spotify. But I want to touch on Spotify, Pandora. Mm-hmm. How has that changed the game in the music industry? I mean, I know there's a lot. I know it has a lot. I've read some articles on it, but maybe in layman's terms, for myself and our listeners, how's it changed?
So just the most basic way of thinking about it is, right before we basically got to the music industry, so we hit it at pretty much the worst possible timing, which was right after Napster took over. Before that, it was, it's good. There's some good sides and there's some bad sides to it. So early days, the music industry is controlled by radio. It's controlled by major labels, right? There's like 5 major labels that are controlling all the artists. They're feeding all that music directly to the radio stations. So the radio stations are then playing those music. Those artists get big. That's how people discover music. There was no internet. There was no Spotify. There was no YouTube. So you're finding the music through TV, through movies, through soundtracks, through MTV, through radio. That's how you're hearing new music, right? So, and the major labels were in cahoots with radio stations, so they're just feeding them acts and be like, here's a new act, you're going to play this. They go, okay, money, it's all this, it's politics, right?
Yeah.
The internet. So, and then they sell CDs, which cost 10 cents to make, and they sell them for $15.99. So you can imagine in the market, you sell 1 million CDs, think about how much money you're making, right? So it was a giant scheme. It was a giant, the money was huge. The acts that were out were making so much money. If you had a hit in those days, you were a millionaire. You're making all this money. It was fat. Everyone's fat off the business, right? And then Napster hits, and all of a sudden now it's like you can't sell it anymore. Now there is no selling music. Nobody buys music anymore. It's all about subscriptions. It's all about streams. Now what that does do, and YouTube opens the door to a lot of artists that don't have major label backing, right? Independent artists. So acts like us, acts like Rebelution, acts like, these acts that never were on a major label. We had major labels that were interested in us, but the deals, we just never wanted to sign away our music or sign away, do these deals where they take all the product, you take your publishing, they take all that stuff. We just never wanted to do that. We always stayed independent. And the one good thing is that, it opens the door for acts that are smaller to kind of like get out there. Oh, I discovered this act on YouTube now. I discovered this act through my Discover Weekly on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. And that's cool. So, you can have these acts that go viral, or these acts that come out of nowhere, and that you discover these talents of people that you would never have seen otherwise. But at the same time, it's really hard to make music to make money off of music, right? Like just from the actual creation of music, it's very hard to make the same amount of money. Like music has been devalued more than any other art form in the world. You think about a painting, you think about a film, you think about a TV show, you think about just any other sort of art, right? That's out there. It's just so much more valuable. That piece of art, or that, a photograph or anything. If you try to steal someone's photograph or someone's film, you're going to get sued. And it's like in music, it's just like, it's so easy to do, it just became this thing where it's almost normal now. And like people get pissed if you can't just have the music for free, And so, it went from making, $15.99 CD on a 10 cent price to now we're getting a fraction of a penny per stream. So, we stream 100 million times, you're making a few $1,000. It's not much. And it used to be.
So everybody listening, turn your volume down, plug your phone in, and all night long just play. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Spotify on the laptop. I'm going to ring it through.
There was a band that when they did something like that, where it was like they were trying to like screw the metric up, where it was this band in Europe, and they basically took their phones and they just had their stream running their like 24 hours a day, and they had it on like all these different things, and they just had like dedicated things to just streaming the songs over and over and over again, just because they figured out that they can make more money by doing that from their streams, you know what I mean, than the subscription they were paying. So they were just like streaming their own music and getting paid for it. And they figured that out real quick, Spotify and all and so figured it out. So yeah, that's the music industry now. We make money off of live performances. We make money off of selling tickets. So it is a big thing for us, is having to be able to tour, and not having that chunk of our income has been tough. But we're one of the lucky bands that can survive. But it's it's also just hard, because it's like, imagine if you were doing all the other stuff and not being able to play the games in football. You're lifting, you're training, you're doing all these things, and then you don't get to play for 2 years or a year and a half. It's like, it starts to become a real bummer.
It does. It really does. It's a great comparison. What is this going to do to the industry moving forward? I'm sure it's been a topic you guys have talked about a bunch. It's been a topic of, a lot of people like yourself, Iration, maybe 15 years ago wouldn't have made it through this, right? I mean, talk about what's going to do for the industry moving forward.
Listen, Iration 4 years ago, maybe wouldn't have made it through this. We would have made it, but we would have probably I would have been doing something else for this whole time. You know what I mean? And I'm lucky enough where we can, I'm able to work on the music and still get paid, and not, we had good financial managers and stuff like that. So we're ready in case something happened. We didn't expect a pandemic. Obviously, we were thinking more like one of the guys breaks their arm or something snowboarding, or because we have a bunch of guys that are surfers and snowboarders, and like, oh, one of these guys is going to hurt themselves eventually, and we're going to have to miss a summer or something like that. And so we were more prepared for that kind of deal. And so, yeah, I think one of the good things in this is, in the beginning, is it forces everybody to be innovative and change the way that they think about the business and think about the way that they're interacting with their fans. I think that's a huge thing for us. And, we try to be on the forefront of all of that. And we started doing Twitch streaming. We started doing, we started a Discord channel, which is just, we're trying to build communities in places where people don't necessarily have to go onto social media sites to interact and be a part of it. I know a lot of people are trying to move away from Facebook and just socials in general, just because of how toxic it gets and how you get the addiction level of, Instagram and all that stuff. It's tough. If you watch The Social Dilemma, I think, and
I'm avoiding it on purpose.
It's hard. It's hard to reconcile. But
I don't want to watch it because everyone's like, yeah, it's going to make you really like vomit. I'm like, what? Like, it's going to make you vomit. You're going to really consider what you're doing and everything.
It's a tough look. Yeah.
Especially with everything you're doing. It's like, I'm talking with the media team. You're like, you got to tweet on a consistent basis. You got Instagram on a consistent basis. You have to, this is, again, I saw it for this. What do I need to do to get to the next step now that I'm in the league and be, okay, I got the podcast. Last week was like and this week it's been, with the Super Bowl, I feel like I'm going through the car wash of ESPN with all these interviews, which is great. And it's humbling. Really is.
Brand building is what it is, right?
Like, you're on your phone, not stop. I'm like, man, I got to get off this thing.
That's what it is. And that's why it's like, it's hard for me, because it does become an issue. It's like, if you're not present, you're sitting next to, I'm sitting next to my wife, and she's like, all right, like, that's enough. Like,
or you're both on your phone.
Yeah, you both are, and it's like,
you look in bed, you look across the bed until you're like, wow, we just were on the phone 15 minutes.
Exactly. And it is part of my job, obviously, to do that and to interact and to be a part of it. And it's more imperative now because of where we are, and where we're at. So we're trying to just make it so that we're trying to bring our communities into these places where it's outside of that, you know what I mean? Our Discord channel, where we can kind of control the narrative, the interaction, what's happening there. It's not information steal type thing. It's like it's more about building community. And we have these communities all over. We have communities on Facebook, we have communities on Instagram and Twitter, and people that are in these different places, and on Twitch even now. But we're trying to bring them all into kind of one place where they can kind of meet each other. And that's one cool thing I did, was from building my Twitch channel in the beginning of this, was just for me to like play video games and do some music and stuff like that, and hang out with my buddies and then stream it. And I've been able to like create this like pretty cool community of dudes and women that are like all there, that they've all become friends and branched out and like met each other through that. And it's created these other communities and channels. And that's been a really cool like thing to see. And I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with Iration, is just trying to do stuff like that. I think is just building the community of our fan base and the people that are into our music, and trying to get them all together and see like, this is a pretty diverse, like cool group of people that are really just music lovers and not just fans of reggae or reggae rock. It's like, they just like good music and vibes and positivity and good stuff like that. So
you guys started that, a lot of it obviously in the beginning of COVID. I know it's an obvious statement, but we were tuning in right away. We're like, all right, let's go. It's a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was like our thing we look forward to, because I was like, hurry up and wait. It's the weekend. And now it's like, okay, what are we doing? I was so used to like work. I was in the XFL at the time. The XFL ended. It was like work. Even before that, like, it's like work Monday through Friday, enjoy the weekend. And it was like the weekend was coming, and it was like the same exact day as like the Tuesday.
Yeah.
But when you guys were on, man, that was huge. Like that, people look forward to that. And you guys get it, which is so cool. You're just like, I know we're going to help everyone get through this, and we're going to play some tunes. Is there any like highlights or moments like throughout COVID that you look back and you're like, I'm really happy we did that. We've helped some people. We played a cool little show. We've done something to help some people through some tough time, or yourself.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was just the album. We had Coastin', and that the whole point of our release was targeted during summer, was so that we could go out on tour and support it and be out this last summer. And we were supposed to go out with Tribal Seeds, and it was going to be this big national amphitheater tour. We're going to be promoting the album, which is like, what you do, you generally put an album out and then you go on tour and support it. And it just really helps. And it's a big thing. And when our tour got canceled, we basically were like, well, we have this album, and now what? Like, are we just not going to put the album out this year? It's like we don't want to do that. And we're like, we feel like, strangely enough, the topics of on the album, and the theme of the whole album was like this whole thing about being in the present and like being thankful for what you have, and like looking around you and just noticing the small things. Yeah. And moving forward. And like, all the songs basically have this theme of like really living for and being thankful for what you have. Right. And it was like, well, this is so fitting for COVID that, really you can look at it and be like, all the things that you're missing out on and all the things that are being taken away. But you can also be like, well, look at all the things that you're blessed with, the time with family, the time that you get to spend together, the new relationships, the depth of the relationships that you're making, the new relationships you're making online or wherever it is you're meeting people, or, and just like now when we go back to, when things start to normalize again, it's like, well, think about how much more special going to a concert is going to feel, or going in, like, even just eating in a restaurant together, or like going to a movie, or, just the simplest things, like going into a store and not feeling like, having that like mood over the whole thing. And it's like, just think about, you guys walk into the facility, how to get your nose swabbed. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
crazy, man.
The
just
simplest
being together.
Things. Yeah, exactly.
It's just like being so, even when I'm with people that I like say, I know they all have COVID. It's like, we're still like, they kicked it, they've been so, they beat it, and it's been a month, and it's all like, you're like, oh man, it's like, I get it. I mean, there's no right way to do it. There really isn't, man. It's crazy. I want to keep on the music note though, and the Coastin' album, which obviously they're all, I love them all, from, all the older ones I love. I love this one too. But Guava Lane, talk to me about that. That's my favorite song on the album.
So Guava Lane, it was a song that we had. It was a beat. I think we just made the beat. We made the music to it, and we were like, oh, this is cool. Like this kind of has in Hawaii, we have this genre called Hawaiian, which is like local Hawaiian music mixed with reggae. So they call it Hawaiian, which is like Jamaican and Hawaiian music together.
Love it.
And it's a very specific thing to Hawaii, and it had kind of that feel. But we were like, okay, it's got the steel drums in it and stuff like that. And we were kind of like, well, what about a song about taking it down memory lane? And we're like, well, what's another way of saying memory lane? And someone was like, well, what about Guava Lane? Because Guava Lane is a place where it actually is a place in Kona where we grew up, where we would go, and when we were in high school, and it was like this kind of back cul-de-sac, this road where nobody would really go, and we could park. Everyone would park their cars and their trucks and play music, and we'd drink beers and hang out and like do whatever, and it was just a place where you wouldn't get bothered by the cops, or people wouldn't really venture out there. So it was like always like the place to go. Oh, we're going to go to Guava Lane. Okay, let's meet up there, blah, blah, blah. And so we're like, oh, that's perfect. So we're like, okay, how do we do Guava Lane? And so then it just became, how do you paint that picture and make it understandable for everybody, and it's like, obviously Guava Lane is really like, let's take it back down memory lane. Like, let's remember all these, like these things and these times of being a kid and being, more innocent times. Obviously, we say, just keeping it simple and saying, we forget about the bad times and reminisce about the good times. And it's like, it's such a simple thought, but it is like, it really does make you like think back. The opening line is like, I just thought about myself when I go back to my hometown, Waimea on the Big Island. It's like, that's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? We're rolling through town with the windows down, and you're like pumping some music, and you're just like looking around, and it's slow, and there's that vibe, and this, it's just all those good things. And then we wrote the second verse, and it was originally I sang it, and then we were like, it would be cool to have, a female on a song, just because we've actually never had a female vocalist guest on the track. So I was like, well, I really like Ellie Mack. I really like the way her voice sounds. First and foremost, she has a cool vibe, and she would probably nail it. So we kind of wrote the verse, and it originally was for me. So it was, and then we were like, well, it was about seeing a girl with a flower in her hair, and she's smiling back. And it was like that whole thing of like, saw her there, saw her standing there, flower in her hair, just smiling. And it was like, that was the line. And then when we gave it to her, she came back and flipped it to like chilling right there with a spliff in my hair, just styling. And we're like, oh shit, she killed it, and she came back with like these little changes that made it like more her and made it more edgy and cool. And so it just came out really well. And it's been like, in Hawaii, it's been blowing up. It's been the number one song on the radio over there, and it's been on the top 5 for like 3 months. And usually, with the cycle nowadays of how fast songs kind of come and go, the fact that it's been staying there for months has been awesome. And it sucks because we like would love to go back and play it, but we can't. So we're like,
You know what? The minute it becomes like the 5th or 6th song, everything gets lifted. I don't know, everything gets lifted, but you'll be able to go back on tour again for certain qualifications, and you'll go back there, and the song will become the number 1 song again, and you guys will rock it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a positive COVID spin you got to put on things.
Yeah, and Fallen for us was like that with over there. So Fallen was a song that it blew up in Hawaii. Like, it was number 1 on every station, and that was before it blew up over here in mainland of California. Yeah, it just got huge over there, huge. And so then we went back and we played all the islands, and we played all these shows, and they were all sold out, and everyone was like, it was crazy. Like, as soon as we played that song, it was like.
And the acoustic version is so in my head now, it's like I can't even think about just the regular one, because you guys came out with the acoustic tracks. Yeah. And I was like, all right, this is it. Like, this is not a better version, but it's just a new version of it,
Yeah, and it's simple. And if you've heard the other one, like, I have, of course, like,
yeah. And
I could go without hearing it again, like I like straight up, like I've played that song 1,000 times, you know what I mean? And
is that the song you guys are like, all right, it's just not, we have to play it because people are going to sing it, and then people
Kind
play
of,
it
yeah.
at their weddings. Like we're debating, like, okay, what
If
song?
we don't play it, we get like hate mail, basically. Like, I can't believe you didn't play Falling. Like, I paid money to see you guys. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Sorry, we play it every night for like 10 years. Like, give us a break, you know? And it, you know, I think there's definitely some shows like we do at festivals and stuff where we'll leave it out, and it's just, that's the response. But it's like, you know what? Like, I think there's definitely gonna be a point where we, you know, certain shows you got to be able to leave certain songs out and not worry too much about it, you know, and just play what you want to play. I think that's more important.
You touched on the songwriting process a little bit. Can you take us into what a songwriting process is for Iration the band?
Yeah, so it's evolved over time. It's changed. It's different for every song. You know, it could be something as simple as me sitting in the living room with an acoustic guitar, just playing it. And you know, I was writing this morning with just my daughter was crawling around on the floor, and I was kind of just strumming around. And that's one way you could do it. It can come from we've done it where we all get together in the studio, and we with our producer, and we make like beats, music first, and then we write off of that, and we kind of all sit in a room and kind of pitch lyrics, and you know, I'll generally kind of guide the process of like keeping the song on track, and everybody else we can brainstorm and like do that. And it used to be, you know, a lot of it fell onto my shoulders as far as the writing goes. So like doing an album was really stressful for me because I felt like all of it was my responsibility to like come up with so much of it. Now it's definitely more of a, you know, everybody is involved in the process. It's collaborative, and that's awesome. And having Micah Brown, you know, joining the band also, and even now Drake, our trumpet player, is a talented. They're all really good at, you know, writing and producing and doing things. And so everybody now in COVID, everybody has a place in their house to do it, because we started doing our own podcast, The Uplifter, and we're like, so everybody got mics and got, you know, interfaces and things to record for the podcast, and then they, you know, in turn have been using it to do music. So now we really have gotten better at that, and we have a text stream where we're sending beats to each other, and everybody's coming up with things. And so it's changed over the years, obviously, and I think now it can come in any one of those different ways. It can come from a beat, it can come from a set of chords, it can come from somebody coming up with a title. Like, I think we have a song on our last album called Contact High, and that was just Daylight Savings. Those are two songs that just came from those phrases. I think Case, and our keyboard player, was like had them written down. He was like, I just had these like thoughts, like daylight saving or contact, and then he's like, Contact High, and I was like, I like that. Like, let's do that. And then we wrote the song out just from, we're like, well, what if Contact High, what if it's about a person, you know, and just the feeling that you get from somebody when you're around them, and then you leave, and then you're like, still feel like, whoa, like I want to, you know, you're still feeling the vibe with that person. Like, I want to get back with them, together with them, and be around them. And that's what that song was about. And then Daylight Saving was, okay, well, let's take that term when everybody thinks it's about, you know, what daylight saving is. And it's like, let's change it and make it about, you're with somebody and you want to spend more time with them, and you want to slow the time down so that you can so that the hours feel longer, you know what I mean? And they don't just fly by. So it's just a way of you can take inspiration from different places, and it's about using them to make make them your own, you know, and using your own experience and your own emotion to kind of make it real, you know. Otherwise, if I was listening to Bruce Springsteen, we're talking about Springsteen, and he on this podcast, and he was saying, like, you can write a song about anything, any situation, any story, but it has to be you have to derive it from something that's real, right? It has to come from an emotion that you can, even if it's not your situation that you're writing about, there has to be an emotion that you can identify with, or that you can have experienced, that you can understand how to write the story of the song so that people can feel that. Because if you don't know that feeling, you don't know that emotion, it's really hard. It's almost impossible, really, to make people feel it and understand it at a level that is really hits. And I think that's why the best songs that we've done, even a song like Summer Nights or Falling, are songs that came from like these real experiences of, like, you know, in the case of Summer Nights, it's like nostalgia, or Guava Lane. It's those nostalgic feelings of like youth and thinking back, and those are powerful things. And then it's like love, obviously, and falling, and the feeling of meeting somebody and falling in love, and those kind of innocent feelings and things that the way that Fallen works, it hits the nostalgia, and it hits that love thing as well. So it's like a double hit. And I think that's what writing songs really is all about. And it's just finding new and unique ways and creative ways to kind of to do those things and bring emotion to people.
Is there a certain song that your wife or your daughter likes that you play the most? Well, first let me start with your wife. Is there a song that she likes the most that you guys do, or she's like, I can't listen anymore? How's that work?
She's definitely out on falling.
Done with falling.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I've heard that one enough. But as far as songs that she really likes Guava Lane. That's one she really likes off the new stuff. Is she a product of Guava Lane? No, she's actually from Scotland, and then she grew up in Santa Barbara, so she had a very different upbringing. But she did go to school in Hawaii. She got her master's degree at University of Hawaii, so she gets it. Cool. And she loves that Hawaiian style music. She kind of, when you lived in Hawaii for any period of time, you really start to love that music, and it becomes like, because you hear it so much, it's like everybody's listening to it. And so so that one, I think. And then my daughter really likes, we did a cover of Last Christmas by Wham for Christmas. This last Christmas, we all did a remote cover where we all tracked and did our parts at our houses and put it together, and it came together really cool. And she, for some reason, whenever my wife will put it on, and she just like starts to go, like, she starts to get into it and dance and
rocking back and forth.
Yeah. So I don't know. We don't know. It's like, I'm assuming she likes it. So
when you bring the guitar out, does she like get excited, or she just continues to go like it's normal dad just playing the guitar?
It's funny because I brought it out this morning. I hadn't played in a few weeks, like a couple of weeks, and I brought it out this morning. And as soon as I strummed it, she kind of whipped her head around and was like, and then I started kind of playing like a rock kind of thing, and she started kind of like getting into it, and she wants to touch it and strum the strings and stuff like that. So I think, they say children learn rhythm and stuff like that at a really young age, and so that was one thing I was like subconsciously like constantly trying to like ingrain rhythm into her as a baby and stuff. I was like, when I'm tapping stuff, or like when I'm playing playing music for her, I'm like subconsciously like trying to ingrain natural rhythm into her. And
your wife's like, why are you playing music so much? You always play, but now you're really playing.
Yeah.
She's going to be my band. You know what's going to happen? 15 years, you're going to be still rocking and rolling, man. Better than ever. She's going to sing a song. She's going to come out or play music, play an instrument. That's going to be
I would love it. I would love it if she was into music. Like, I don't know if I would wish a career in music on her.
Just come hang out with dad.
I know what kind of a grind it is, but yeah, no, I mean, I would love her to be into music and be musical. I think that would be amazing.
Speaking of the grind, check out the Peloton behind you. I know you're I just ordered one, so we're going to be riding together here soon. I'm going to
let's go.
So, does that get you through COVID? Was that a crutch that got you through the tough times there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a person that I have to like grind just to like not put on weight. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't blessed with like this amazing
I hear you, brother,
metabolism. So I've always been a big guy. I've been big since I was a little kid, and I played soccer in high school. I played football. I did track. I did basketball. I did golf. I did a lot of different things. So I was very active. But as soon as I got out of college and was like not on a routine anymore, where I was like, oh, you got to be at the gym this many days a week, or you got to practice, or this or that. Like, it was like, okay, I definitely took a few years off of like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I just want to like, drink. I was drinking a lot. I'll be honest. I was drinking a lot, partying a lot. That was my life for a good many years, out of college.
Touring? Were you touring then?
Touring, yes. It got dark for a while, as it does for a lot of artists. And so now, I'm in my mid to late 30s, and I got a
mid 30s.
So I'm trying to stay fit. And I talked to Staley, and he lost a shit ton of weight. Like, he dropped
like Joe Thomas
pounds, Joe Thomas. And
so easy for those guys though. Like, I don't say it's easy, but their whole lives is like, you gotta hit this calorie count.
Yeah.
And people are like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, it's a big, like in season, I eat like over a half pound of pasta a night for dinner, maybe 3/4. Sometimes, yeah, I'm pushing.
I wish I had a reason to do that.
I know, man. Like, honestly, I was like middle of the season, I'm like, this is awesome. But now I'm off of it. I'm like shedding weight, just like get a little lighter, lose 5-10 pounds, and then like rebuild it back on.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I have to cut my caloric. So I'm like counting calories. Whereas like, it's hard to be really active when you have a baby just because you have to be with her so many hours out of the day, and there's not so many things I can do. I can take her for a walk or whatever, but in COVID, it's harder. Obviously it's harder to be more active. But yeah, the Peloton's been awesome. I love it. Staley was the one that really sold me on it. Cause he's like, dude, I've just been doing Peloton and like eating right. And I'm freaking lost so much weight so fast. So I was like, okay, I'm getting one. So I got one basically because I was thinking about getting one, and then he like really convinced me. But now I've been seeing all these other guys like I'm kind of friends with Jeremiah Searles too, who played for the Bills and retired too. And he's a Peloton guy now, and they're both they're like, I mean, they're freaking beast athletes. So they're like, I'm sure you'll kick my ass too. But I was like, no. I publicly challenged Joe and like Detlef Schrempf and like some of these guys from like Callaway Golf. And
yeah, I see it all on Twitter. It's great.
Joe smashed. He's insane. Like he's insane at it. So he's like a freaky athlete. So he smashed me. So I was like, okay, I got to stop talking shit to Joe in public.
He's such a beast. He's a Hall of Famer. You see the names. That's what gets me going. My brother has one. My brother and his boyfriend have one. And like, I get on the bike and I like see these names and I see like some people jump ahead of me. And I'm like, here we go. Like, I'm not going down. They're like, oh, go down on your seat. I'm like, nope, I'm just going. I'll go right through the next one until I see my name jump back up. And then, so that's what gets me going. Does a competitive get you going? Does that keep
100%? Like, I'm still have the competitive juices. My wife like gets mad at me because she's like, you're so fucking competitive. Like, you're too competitive. Like, and I'm like, well, when you're an athlete, you grow up an athlete, it's like ingrained in you. That's just who you are, And so that's why I love it though, is because that's what motivates me more than anything is like that competition. And it like, even just the competition with myself, just seeing my PR, and that pushes me a lot of times. And just if I start going and I feel good, some days you get on there and you don't feel great, but you're like, all right, I'm going to do it anyway. And then some days you get on and you start going and you're like, okay, I feel pretty good. Like, and I'm pretty close to my PR, then I'll be like, okay, I have to go for it now because I feel good and I'm close. Like I got to do it. And it's like, once you decide, then it's like, at the end of it, I'm like verging on throwing up because I'm like going so hard, but I love
the next day is a bad day.
Yeah. And I think that like, I found all these new ways to kind of get out my competitive nature, which is like, gaming, which is one, what I can do safely at night when the baby goes to sleep, and on my Twitch stream I'm just playing Call of Duty and shit with a bunch of people, and there's a bunch of athletes that have been doing that too. And
I am hiding from that, man. I got I can't.
Don't do it.
I'm done. If I get on Call of Duty, it's a wrap.
It's crazy. I was playing Fortnite a couple years back, and I was playing with like every Major League Baseball player like you could think of, and like NFL dudes, a bunch of guys from the Niners, like Trent Taylor and a bunch of those guys. I play with them and
Shaver.
Yeah, and they were. It was funny, just like seeing all the people that pop in and out of that game, and so
they're obsessed, man. Guys are obsessed with it, and I get it. Like when I was in high school, we had football practice 5 to 8 in the summer.
Yeah,
we would get home for practice, like eat a late dinner, and then boom, we'd be on till 3 a.m. Like, grinding. And this was when it was like live, and it was like, no social media, like there's no Twitch stream. It's just like texting our friends in a group chat, and then like the 10th guy would be late and he couldn't get into the chat because you could have it's crazy. That's what I forget. Like we would always be like, hey, what's the shape of Italy? And he would say a boot, and then we boot him out of the chat. So
that's what I love about it though. It's like, for me, it's like interaction with a bunch of bros, and it's like, and just the competitive nature of it, and just kind of getting those juices going. I mean, obviously it's like a different thing, and then golf, I've been I've been playing golf for fun, and we only do a buddy's trip, and where we kind of play for competition like once a year. And so I joined a club, this like a local club. It's just a public club that we that is at this course close to my house. I was playing out of a different place, and I just didn't really like it because there's no real community. And I went to this new place, and they have like a Monday game every week. It's a skins game, and they have once a month they have like a tournament or a competition. And so it's really fueled me to like want to practice and get back on my golf game. And so now that's my new kind of grind, is trying to get my golf game in order. And
there's nothing better than a social club. I've been fortunate enough where my dad was a part of a couple different clubs, and he would bring me like through his business and all. Like there was always like the hoity-toity club where I had to like tuck in my pants, like, which is fine. I always tuck in when you play golf, and there's of course there's a certain standard to it, but like you had to act a certain way. Like I didn't say a word, and there's always good environments. Sure, we have found the times where like my dad would get his beer and I'd get my food and whatever, but there's always like clubs now like where I go to, and we go play golf together, and it's like, all right, this is a social club. This is fun. This it's a nice course. It's a great course. It's a 7, 8 out of 10. All right, the other place is a 10 out of 10, but you can't even like cough. Now you definitely can't cough, but you can't even like just be one of the guys, which I hate. I don't always like.
And that's one of the things about golf that people are really trying to get away from, is that whole stigma of like the hoity-toity, stuffy.
They have to.
There's so many clubs now that are opening and people are really trying to change that perception and trying to change that vibe, because that's yesteryear kind of
it's like Caddyshack, man.
Yeah, it's like there are places that are still like that, and it's like, okay, it's because of the older guard, the membership there.
And I do think like there's something cool to that. Like, hey, we're going out here's a really nice course. Like it's got the old time vibe, and you sit in the old cabin and eat food. Like that's cool. But like I just couldn't be a member at that. That's not. Yeah, no.
No, not for me. So and that's what it is. It's that's one thing I think when you play football, I'm sure, is like the camaraderie and the group of the buddies that you have, and like that interaction every day, the social interaction of having your boys that you go to the team, and you it's just
my favorite part. Don't
shit to each other, and like
don't tell anybody. It's my favorite part of the game, man.
Yeah. Oh,
I love playing.
Everyone. I think that's I think a lot of guys, that's what they miss the most when they retire. It's like just the hanging out with the guys, every day. And
people call me the mayor. I've heard it all. He never shuts up. Yeah, I don't, because guess what? I've been on my couch, man. I've been home. Like it took me 4 years to get to this place. I'm gonna have fun, enjoy every day, treat every day the same way. Like that's
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's been good. It's that was cool for me this year. I was like, screw it. Before I let you go, and again, I appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
You said compete. I find ways to compete. Do you subliminally like compete against other bands? And how do you compete against other bands?
I think subconsciously, yeah. I think that's healthy. I think in any business, in anything in life, it's healthy. Should be healthy competition. I think it pushes you to be better. It pushes you to be introspective and self-critical. And I think that's a big part of life, and being successful at anything. It's like, if you're not striving to get better at what you're doing by looking at the people that are doing well and being successful, then I think you're missing an opportunity, and it could be anything from just the songwriting. Why are this song successful? I definitely do a lot of studying on the songwriting stuff. It could be the performance, could be the production of the show. All those things. I'm looking at all that stuff and taking note and kind of trying to apply it to our own situation. I think that's totally healthy. I mean, it's like I said, in the early days, there was definitely like a healthy, friendly. I would say it was a friendly competition between us and Rebelution, and I think that's kind of pushed us. It pushed us both to be better, and I think it pushed us both. If we maybe didn't have that competition, like maybe we wouldn't be at where we are now, and both bands maybe necessarily wouldn't be where they are. And so I think that's a good thing. And it's just like and I'm going to compare it to NFL again. I think on a roster, it's like coaches are always going to try and get competition at every position, because it just pushes people to be better, you know, and I think that's an important part of it.
So I'll finish up with a story quickly, and then I'll ask you a couple questions about touring and maybe a good story on tour that you could share with the fans, and then
All right.
we'll let you go. So I'll let you marinate a good tour party, maybe party story, fun story. We're keeping the podcast loose, this version of it. Okay. So funny 2 football stories here. I'll tell them briefly, which they're tied into Iration. I was treading water, trying to get back into the NFL, and it was mini camp, NFL mini camps, and what is it? Yeah, rookie mini camp. So I didn't have a credited season in the NHL, NHL, I wish. I'm a huge Flyers fan. NFL, which is 3 games. Right. So I am still eligible to go to these rookie mini camps. Let's see, it's April. You guys were somewhere. You guys were actually at the Stone Pony, and we're going to go up to Asbury Park. And I just did a rookie mini camp with the Giants, and there was like one more weekend of rookie mini camps, and I'm like, I'm not getting one. It's Thursday on the couch. I'm sitting. We booked it Wednesday. If you don't get a call by Wednesday, they can't start Thursday. You're not going to camp. I'm like, Sid. Mm-hmm. I'll reach out to Poosh. He said, hit me up whenever you want to come to a concert. We hit him up, and we'll just get the tickets. Buy the tickets online, and we're going to get an Airbnb. So booked, done, signed, sealed, and delivered. I shot you a message. You're like, great, man, looking forward to it. We'll meet, exchange contact. So I got a call from my agent Thursday. Saints minicamp already started. It's Thursday, like 6:00. Good call from my agent. You got to get on the first flight out of Philly, Newark, anywhere. You got to go right now. The New Orleans, the tight end failed his physical. You got to go. I was like, oh, okay. So I packed my bags. I ran around the house, like grabbed my cleats, like grab them. I need to function with them. I can maybe buy a pair of shorts if I had to. And then I go to New Orleans, and I'm literally in the plane in Newark. I'm like, sorry, I can't come to the concert this weekend. I'm actually going to New Orleans Saints. So it was crazy. And we ended up working out perfectly. The tickets we bought for the concert and the Airbnb, our friends, like we gave it to them, and boom, they took it. We exchanged, and it was all worked out fine. So that's my first Iration story. Second Iration story, finally get to see you guys. We're in Houston, and yeah, you're like, hey, listen, my buddy, it says, I'll give you Colin's number, which is an easy name for me to remember. Your manager, I believe.
Yeah, tour manager. Yeah.
Yeah, tour manager, and a cool guy, really cool. And we go back, and this is 2 years ago at this point, probably. It was definitely before COVID. Yeah. Actually, you know what? It was over the holidays. 2019. Yeah, because I was in Houston for the holidays. Then I went back for mini camp, and I was training hard. And I'm like, all right, we'll go to the Iration concert, lay low, couple beers, no big deal. Go to the concert. We ended up going backstage. I'm like, what? This is incredible. Ended up hanging out with you guys. Colin's dragging us around. Come in here, have a beer, shots, the whole 9. I was like, oh man. So that interrupted that interrupted the workout session for the next day, but that was fine. I went and sweated it out, and I was okay. But loved the concert. It was incredible. Sat with you guys. And then really something special to me, and this shows to your characters, you don't have to give me the time of your day. And I know you're a humble guy. You're just another guy you're just one of the guys who made it. That's what I got the vibe from you. And you just want to be treated like one of the normal people. I do too. And you're like, hey man, just give me 10 minutes. I'm going to cool down. We'll be back in a second. So we're sitting in your tour room. You guys are or the hangout room right behind the stage in Houston. What's that room called? Is it the green room?
Yeah. The House of Blues at Houston.
Houston, yeah. So we're hanging in that room. You open the fridge. I'm not going to say the beer because I want them to sponsor the podcast. It's my favorite beer, but it was in the fridge, and I was like, starts with a C and ends with a light. So I was like, all right, cool. Sponsor the podcast, by the way, if anybody knows Coors Light.
Dude, side note, I'll tell you after this, but yeah.
Okay, good. Uh-oh, everybody. We may actually have something in the making. But so I was like, all right, they got Coors Light. I like these guys already. This is cool. There was one bottle of booze and all beer and pizza and food. I'm like, these guys are awesome. I didn't know what to expect. I was like, all right, it's a reggae. The place could just reek of weed. I don't know what's going on. I can't smoke, So we ended up having a ball, and it was myself, Sydney. It was my girlfriend at the time, my fiance now, and you. We talked for 30 to 40 minutes, and I was like, man, this guy just finished the concert. This is incredible. So we talked for 40 minutes. I'll never forget that. You went to clean up with the tour bus, and you're like, hey, meet me at this bar. right across the street in Houston. What's the bar called?
I forget.
I'll look it up and add it there. But you know people there, you're like, it's the best spot.
Yeah.
We go here every time.
We know the guy. We know the owner there. Yeah.
It's right across the street, and that's on me. I should have looked it up. I just popped in my head. But yeah. Long story short, we ended up having drinks with you, and you gave your time to us there too, and you didn't have to. And then people were pulling at you, and you're like, "Hey man, come back to the bus." So we hung out on the bus with you guys. That was so cool. Drank some more Coors Lights, and guys are like brushing their teeth, like right in front of us. I'm like, this is awesome. So again, I really appreciate you doing that for us, man. I'll never forget it. It's one of our favorite times as a couple, just like hanging out with you guys and shooting the shit. It was really cool. So
yeah, I mean, for us, it's like, we live on the tour bus, so it's, I remember when we first started and like going on Pepper's tour bus was like we're like, whoa, I still, I get it now that I've been living on one for so long, you kind of get desensitized to it, but a tour bus is an awesome thing, I mean, it really is awesome. Cool. Like it's fun.
We were right there. I looked up the bar. So we were on the tour bus was on the corner of Dallas and Caroline.
Yeah.
The bar is Reserve 101. So shout out to you guys. They hooked us up with drinks too. It was cool.
They know one of the guys. I think it's Kaysen. I think our keyboard player knows the guy that owns it or something. And so whenever we go there, we all the bands end up going to go there, and we like have a drink or whatever, and just say like catch up. And then, usually we're playing. It's the weird thing about Houston is usually we play on off nights there. It's like a Wednesday or a Tuesday or something like that. It's not usually, So when we go there, like nobody's in there. So it's just all the bands that go in there afterwards and like hang out. And then that night there was like a bunch of other people, like a bunch of the fans and stuff were in there.
It was like groupies, and they were like pulling at your shirt and all. You're like, oh, I'm sitting here hanging out with friends, guys. But you never like said that, you like gave everybody the time, which I thought was really cool. And then you're like, all right, we got to get out if you guys want to have some casual conversation and drinks, which was really cool. I'll never forget that. So who is the okay, you guys played with Pepper that night.
Was it Pepper?
Yeah. And then one other act.
Oh, Catastro. Was it Catastro?
What was the band? Oh my God. He's got a cool voice. He was pretty banged up. He had a good ripper going on. And we were leaving, and we were walking to our Uber, and the tour buses were ready to leave. We're like, hey guys, we got to roll. We got to drive.
I think it was Andy from Catastro.
No, it's not. It's oh man, hold on. I got to Google this, and this is bad radio. I apologize, guys. We're going to go Houston, Iration, 2019. Houston, Live from Paradise, House of Blues, but it doesn't say who you open with. Live from Paradise. It was Fortunate Youth and Castro. Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. And I apologize to the podcasters out there.
Oh no, it was Dan from Fortunate Youth, wasn't it?
It was a bigger guy.
Yeah, so it's Dan. It was Dan from Fortunate Youth. That's who it was.
Dude, so you're like, buses are leaving. You guys got to go. No problem, man. We're getting on the Uber. We'll get out of here. It's like 2 a.m.
And he was still on the bus.
No. He was walking down the street the opposite direction. And if we didn't get on the bus that time, I don't know if he would have made the bus. He's like, I can't find my phone. I don't know which way I'm going. And we're like, dude, like honestly, like it could have been catastrophe. Like we're like, dude, the buses are like 3 blocks that way. You better get going. Because we hit our Uber up. I don't know why it was farther away. And he's like, really? How do you guys know I am? I'm like, we're at the concert tonight. It was just with the Iration guys. They're ready to leave. So we like turned around and we could see the buses in the distance, and he's running on it. And literally he gets in the buses and the buses take off.
They were trying. So Dan, who's the lead singer for Fortunate Youth, is a band. There's a band that we've known for a long time. He has a tendency to party it pretty hard after shows.
Have a good time.
So he was on one, and their whole deal was that they were trying to leave him behind so that we'd have to take him on our bus. And so they were trying to it was like a prank. They were like trying to leave like super drunk Dan on, and so he had to ride on our bus. And so I think that's why they were like trying to dig out before he could run back on the bus. And we're like, no.
He's
that ain't happening, doggy.
All right. We've gone at about an hour 30, hour 40. Any good tour stories that you can tell as we wrap it up?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a ton of them. So just a football, I just thought of a football related one. We had a day off in Dallas back I can't remember what year it was. It was the opening day of the NFL season though. So it was Dallas playing the Giants, and we happened to be in Dallas. So we're like, you know what? Our buddy KJ is a great guy. He sells Teslas down in Dallas, and this is like early days. And so he was like, I have a hookup through Miller Lite, I think it was, or something, who one of the sponsors in Dallas.
They can sponsor this podcast too, by the way, Miller Lite. Continue.
And yes, I was gonna just before we do that, I was gonna say, you're saying this C Light beer. So I just got a message today. Apparently the guy that's his name is David and his last name is the C, is a fan of the band. So our band is fueled by Coors. I'm just gonna say it. Our band is fueled by Coors Light. Like our crew, like they literally, that's what they are. The guys that our roadies, the crew, they are fueled by Coors Light. They drink that more than they drink water. So it's like, that's the beer that is on all of our buses and our rider. It's always, it's in anywhere you go, you can find a Coors Light on Iration somewhere in Iration. So apparently Dave Coors is a fan, and I just got invited to play golf with him if I'm in Denver. So I'll put this all together. We'll get the podcast sponsored.
Dave, do you want to sponsor a podcast that's not even out yet? We appreciate
you sponsor Iration and we sponsor this podcast. Right?
Yeah. We're tied together. And then
So anyway, we're playing this show. We end up doing this whole we end up doing this whole tailgate, right? We parked the tour buses out in the parking lot of Dallas Stadium, AT&T or whatever it's called, and we do this whole barbecue. It was a bunch of guys that they don't even care. Like a bunch of our crew guys don't even know about football. They don't care, but they're all drinking. These guys end up getting way too drunk. We go in there and we lose. We got 3 different members of the band and crew got tossed out. We're on the field level. So they put us in the level where we're basically under the field, but you can see up on our heads are popped up right on the bench of the Cowboys. So we're sitting there and we're like, this is amazing. But we just start seeing our crew guys start getting pulled out of the venue because they're just passing out in different parts of the stadium. And we're like, oh my God. So we're like, watch. We have all these photos of different crew guys, our merch guys, just falling asleep at on a bench sitting next to Larry Allen. We're just like, dude, that's Larry Allen. That's a Hall of Famer, dude. He's got all these Super Bowl rings, and our merch guys next to him, just passed out drunk.
I can't even pick up his hand. He has so many Super Bowl rings.
Yeah. So we're it ended up just turning into this gigantic shit show. I don't even think those guys understood where they were. But they all ended up just blacking out. It's okay, we learned our lesson. We're not doing that ever again. We'll go to the game, but we're leaving the crew guys that don't even care about football. We're leaving them back in the parking lot at the tailgate. They don't need to go in.
I love it, man. Well, I just subscribed to the Uplifter podcast. Iration presents the Uplifter. It's available anywhere you get your podcasts and new album, Coastin'. Any album coming up in the near future?
We're starting to write again. I don't know. Well, it probably wouldn't be out until at earliest, probably 2022, but we're going to start putting music out. I think we're just going to, for 2021, I think we're just going to try to keep music flowing and try to keep putting singles out. I think that's kind of the goal for us right now. And so, yeah, we'll keep, I don't know if an album, maybe not till next year, but we're just going to try and start floating new music out, as we go. We have a dub album that's coming out, I will say, in March. And it's
that public knowledge.
We have not announced it yet, but we're going to announce it very soon. And it's a dub album.
It's announced on here. You heard it first.
Yeah, remixes from our Coastin' album by The Scientist and Stony Eye Studios and Stu from the Dub Trio, who is Modest Yahoo's band, and he's amazing. And we have 3 live dub remixes by The Scientist, who is, if you know dub reggae, he's the guy. And so yeah, pretty cool. We're very excited. Just some new music, and just a different vibe and a different sound. So,
well, Poosh, I can't thank you enough, man. I'm looking forward to having you back on. Maybe get some Niners in here, have a good time, and looking forward to seeing you guys back in person, man. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Micah Pueschel, Poosh Daddy, the lead singer of Iration, for joining Not For Long Media. Can't thank you enough, bro, for coming on, truly. And can't thank you enough for allowing us to use your music, just being transparent. Guys, I reached out to them and said, hey, can we use your music on the podcast? And, you know, that's a dicey subject when it comes to rights. And we talked about that a little bit on the podcast of, hey, like, is that legal? I always wondered, is it legal to use someone else's music? But it is not legal. And we are trying to do it the right way here. And all the music you hear is Iration, which is awesome for me. Gives me an excuse to play them, even though I'd be playing them anyways. So, Micah, love your story. Love what you guys are all about. Had a fun night out with you guys in Houston on a random Tuesday night, I think that was. So really appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to circling back with you, the boys in the band, and learning more about Hawaii and your guys' travels and what's next. And who knows, maybe see you guys here this summer if everything cleans up with COVID, but we shall see. Micah Pueschel, truly, truly, truly appreciate you coming on and just sharing your stories, because they were really cool, really informative. Guys, before we go, check out our sponsors, Wealth Advisory Services, Paul, Jenk, great guys, people that I've been able to get to know and trust, which is really cool. And they're always there and available, and they lay things out in layman's terms to me, which is extremely, extremely important for this part of my life where I don't know as much as maybe I should, but they are teachers and they help me a lot with everything and invest my money in the places it needs to go to. So Wealth Advisory Services, they do a great job. And then the Original Fudge Kitchen, family business, check them out. They ship fudge across the country. Great for gifts. We did a bunch for Christmas. I shipped it all over to my friends for Christmas time. Easter's coming up. Those people that gave up dessert for Lent, maybe fudge isn't dessert. I don't know. It's a dessert to me. It's delicious. And the creamy fudge down the Jersey Shore here, they ship it all over. Same with their saltwater taffy. It's tremendous. So check them out. The Original Fudge Kitchen, Wealth Advisory Services. And that does it for another episode of Not For Long Media. Stay tuned. We appreciate it. Guys, please rate, subscribe, follow us, spread the good word. Thank you.
I get this feeling that I'm going back again. Back to something sweet. I don't wanna go. I don't wanna go. Why don't we go downtown? I said I don't wanna go. I don't